Because what topics do that cookies could never do, even if I targeted exactly the right person, I have no idea if you're in an intent moment right now. It's not about pivoting to something new, it's pivoting to something that worked 25 years ago. That's the key.
Welcome to What Gets Measured, a NinjaCat podcast about marketing, performance management, metrics, and effectiveness. Because what gets measured gets managed. I'm your host, Jake Sanders. Judy Shapiro's career has been characterized by her relentless pursuit of marketing momentum. Throughout her career, Judy's consistently explored leading-edge marketing practices, creating new branding models with AT&T and Lucent Technologies. And as the founder of Topic Intelligence, she's been actively creating new ways to use topic data and digital media as a coordinated acquisition marketing discipline. Judy's been a CEO, editor-in-chief, strategist, columnist, and now she pads her resume further with an appearance on the NinjaCat podcast. Judy, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful.
Thanks for answering our call. I'm just going to hit the button right here. Give us the elevator pitch for Topic Intelligence. What are you up to over there? And where did the idea for this company come from? Give us the pitch.
So Topic Intelligence is an architecture for doing topic-based targeting in digital media. And actually, the idea is 20 years old in the sense of when I was trying to do marketing for whether I was at a client or even while I was at the agency, topics was always what you use, but I never knew why I picked a topic. And so this is how the conversations went in the conference room. So Judy, what topic do you think we should make the video about? And I'm like, I think it should be about this, whatever this was. And they say, how do you know? I said, I don't know. And I could never answer that question. And the heart of marketing is content and topics. And yet the tools we had that I was seeing evolving in ad tech were horrendous. And it went even worse. You know, whether we're talking about some of the native platforms, which are, quote, trying to be contextually relevant in ad placement, they're horrible. Keyword targeting is misaimed because it's contextually misaligned. Interest classifications was way too broad. So if I'm selling drones or something like that, there's no way to find my category. So it was frustrating. I couldn't execute a topic-based paradigm in digital media. I had to go down the cookie, I'll give you whatever topics I'm willing to give you kind of road. That made me nuts. And I got angry. I mean, pure out angry because I didn't know how to do my job. So that's why we evolved Topic Intelligence. It is a platform that helps a brand understand which topics they should focus on before they invest a penny. Before, not after. And it gives them which topics have the best conversion score. So if you're trying to sell widgets, it'd be nice to know this topic is going to do really well versus that topic. So this is intelligence before you actually spend a penny, then you execute your campaigns, and then we do attribution based on a topic model. Again, crazy hard to do with the Google Analytics. You could kind of get there, but by the time you're done, you've spent your whole week doing it. This is topic-based intelligence going in, topic-based buying in the middle, topic-based attribution at the end. And that was a viable system that advertisers could and are buying very well right now. Thank God.
And what it's interesting that you're talking that people are saying the pivot is this cookie, this personal identifier seems like a more sure bet in a way. But when you get down to the attribution level, there is no way for you to actually, unless you're kind of doing it on your end, attribute those.
It's very difficult.
Very difficult.
It can be done.
Can be done. But you have to do a lot of manual stuff to plug in all those things. And
you can't automate it. So that's just a crazy amount of effort. But the a priori assumption that you must use cookies to target, in my opinion, is flawed. Internet is a content serving engine. I just wrote an article. I was in the room when it happened. I was literally in the room when the internet was being built. It's a content serving engine, not people serving.
I'm feeling the Hamilton vibes right now. You were in the room when it happened.
I was at Bell Labs then. I was at Bell Labs. I was head of their new ventures team, which was all the cool stuff, the internet stuff, the operating systems. We had a product called the Anonymizer. This is 1998. To protect your browsing. Tell me, have you ever heard of it? No, because we never brought to market. Why? Because nobody could imagine we would need it.
Wow.
Seriously.
Wow. So talk more. Talk about wait, you're saying in 1998 they had the anonymizer. They had maybe this answer or this question, or like how would have that played out?
So Bell Labs. So remember, this is Bell Labs, right? So we were creating an operating system to compete with Java. The name of the operating system was called Inferno. Again, another thing that never really came to market because we were wrong a lot. But in those days, it was a way to protect. If you downloaded or had this browser or this operating system, you would have been able to browse anonymously. And I remember being in the room again when we're talking about this, because my job was to decide which products would have market value to know where Bell Labs should invest their money, just like any venture fund. So my job was to say, yes, I think this venture has a life, this one doesn't, this one does, and so forth. So we're in the room talking about this, and I was on the side of, gee, sounds like a good idea. But the engineer's like, why would we have to hide what we're doing? Who would care? We didn't imagine tracking for advertising. We didn't imagine tracking for retargeting. None of that had been born yet. Right. So we got that one really wrong. Yeah, really badly wrong. But we had some big wins. There was some, we understood Wi-Fi way before everybody else did. We got that one right. We got right how we have to go from dial-up. I don't know how many people really remember dial-up, but dial-up to, broadband. We take for granted how ubiquitous internet is. You can't, it's only been 15 more some odd years. And it's a miracle to me. I appreciate it because going from dial-up all the way through to where we are today with our mobile phones being smarter than we are in many cases,
sure,
is remarkable, and we don't appreciate it. But I get the joy of appreciating it. So that's my special power.
What a wonderful bit of biographical insight there, but also that the smartest people, maybe locally on the planet, couldn't see this coming. And it's interesting that it's sort of a fight that marketers are having now on how the pivot just sort of happened, that it would be assumed that this would be the best way to do it. And Topic is this great pivot. And so getting back towards what you guys are doing on topic-based, intelligence, you have this data platform, and it's true of all the ad tech businesses. There's platforms aplenty. So what's your advice for, marketers who have all that data, available, just leveraging the data effectively, getting through the noise and confusion, what's sort of been your way of?
So here are the top 3 things that usually when I'm talking to friends, what I suggest they do.
Oh, I love it.
Which is 1, don't buy the I have to track people story. It's not that you don't need it, but it's not really the point. All you really need to do is get down to which campaigns are creating results. Because once you get down to the who, now you're in tech hell again. You're in tech hell because you have to figure out how to track them without tracking them. You have to figure out what you're going to pay for them. You have privacy issues. You have a changing landscape issue. You've got a million tech layers you have to now add onto your ad tech stack. So the rush for first-party data is necessary. It's unfortunate, but it is necessary. But pulling out of that data, really focus on the topics that are generating activity through email, through Google Analytics. Number 2, stop chasing scale. For heaven's sakes, I am begging people, stop chasing scale.
Talk more.
Here's where it sends people into a rabbit hole of stupid. You're a big brand, right? You're a big brand X. You sell the best widget on the planet, right? And your audience is pretty big, men, women, right? So your instinct is to use digital media to reach a lot of quote people, right? So you're looking for a low CPM, a low cost per thousand, right? Reaching as many people as possible. That's what you're trained to look for. But what if I told you in advance that for your category today, there are maybe 2 million people looking at your kind of product through the lens of these topics. Let's just go talk to them. There's only 2 million of them. You don't need to buy 10 billion impressions to hope to reach something. Because what topics do that cookies could never do, even if I targeted exactly the right person, I have no idea if you're in an intent moment right now. It's not about pivoting to something new, it's pivoting to something that worked 25 years ago. That's the key. I was working on De Beers. I was on that account for many years. We bought Sailing Magazine because of the topic. We bought the magazines, the demographics were irrelevant. It was the right contextual environment. That has gotten lost. So stop chasing scale. Start understanding which topics are important for your conversion funnel. Okay. And number 3, throw out what you think you know about the friggin', upper funnel, lower funnel, mid funnel. Because it is always explained in the context of spending money. And truth be told, the easiest thing to do in marketing is spend money. The hardest thing to do is to spend the least amount you can to get the most done. Agencies don't want you to spend a little bit of money. They want you to spend a lot of money. Right.
I know that's right.
And so the way they do that is through the typical funnel. You remember upper funnel, brand awareness, middle funnel, and so now there are tactics you could use at different stages. But if you're spending media, the only money you should be focused on is that middle funnel. That's it. The upper funnel will be a function of organic and content and all those things, which is where topic intelligence is the most productive. Instead of just doing 20 blogs a month, do 20 blogs on topics will have a value. So your team is optimized, right? So free content is upper funnel. That's it. No media. Now, again, my agency friends would vigorously disagree with me because they're like, no, TV. And I'm not saying it's inappropriate in all cases. I'm just saying for most businesses, middle funnels where you want to spend media, you do. Again, topic-based media, because they're already in some mindset. You just got to get them in the right topic wave moment. You see what I'm saying? I don't believe in converting, quote, a person. A, it's impossible to get a threaded message to them digitally, but B, it's like you're working way too hard for not enough ROI. It's just not worth it. The juice is not worth the squeeze. You put your money in that middle bucket, and you're usually doing content. We do content placement. The way we do content media buying is not through scale buys. We don't even do programmatic anymore. I was tired of losing that fight. I really was. We do content distribution. We do content placement. Might want to throw some money in very targeted banner ads against specific topics, like if you're a B2B, engineering.com or whatever the verticals are. And your lower funnel, believe it or not, is good old-fashioned email. Yes, email and search. If you just keep it simple, you'll have a much better view as to how to expand and grow without losing your shirt.
Speaking more about losing shirts and trying to figure out where the thread has gone as our budgets are hitting, their threadbare minimums. Tracking what's working, tracking effectiveness, all those things. You got your dashboards, you got your reports. Measuring success in this ecosystem is a challenge. What's your advice on like data management, like dashboards? Is it one of those things? Is simplify the way you set up your dashboard in this 1, 2, 3 mentality?
Tell me, do you want me to start with the good news or the bad news?
I don't know. You should maybe start with the bad news.
Okay. The bad news is that the pervasive business model makes data management a crazy, difficult, expensive endeavor. And in my opinion, very cynically speaking, that's by design. Think of how many data firms have to get fed. Think of how many consultants have to get fed. It's meant to be difficult because at the end of the day, you're tracking a person. Now, let's just think about this philosophically for a minute. Should we be tracking a person, even if you could do it perfectly? Put aside whether you can or you can't. Is that fair? Really? Is that right? Really? So you're trying to make work a system that has ethical challenges to it in the first place, right? Now, good news. I'm a big believer in harvesting the data of people that are engaging with you, right? People that are buying from you, people that are signing up for your newsletters. That's valuable. But that's a longer process, right?
Mhm.
So a brand just can't turn on a spigot. Like in the old days, if you and I wanted to go sell widget X, we'd go to data company Y, say, give me everybody who, and fill in the blanks. I could even buy people that were predictively determined to get diabetes. That's how precise it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrifying. It's actually terrifying. So that's what we would do. But if you just stop and you take product widget X, you go through the topic intelligence process, which then gives you 30 topics that have different conversion scores attached to them. Now you can approach it intelligently. You don't have to complicate your whole ad tech stack. You can get rid of all those horrible universal ID solutions. I hate every one of them. One of my burn points is that, and I've written a lot about that. It's an area of deliberate complication. So you have to keep buying more to make any sense of it. And that's just really, really bad. So you keep adding layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of complication to get a less clear result that by the time if you're done, if you just got rid of all of that and said, okay, topics, here are the topics I should focus on. Let's all march to these topics in March, as an example.
Right.
Everybody does their thing. It'll be obvious what's working. You don't have to kill yourself to figure out who converted. It's such an inefficient system that it kind of burns so the whole cookie thing is an artifice.
And if it could work, even if you could connect all of those, that's one of the problems with data management, marketing data management, is one ID over here doesn't mean the same thing over here, and the data fields are sort of crisscrossed, and you have to spend a lot of your time cleaning and organizing, and you have to find somebody to clean and organize.
And it's flawed. It's flawed. It could be my 10-year-old daughter that signed up. There are so many problems that it's actually stunning to me that the industry just fell for it. Like VCs, everybody just like, yeah, data's good. Let's just gather more of it. Aside from the fact that it was stolen from people, their data was stolen from them.
Well, so
Period.
and you said something at the beginning, which was attribution, is that if you really want to see if your campaigns work on a campaign level, you don't need to track individual participation. You just need to track the
Correct.
campaign. So when
Correct.
you're getting at that level of tracking campaign effectiveness, what's your advice there? Like, I mean, ROI? Do you hate that word too? Do you want to
I
go?
love, again, our entire ad tech stack is around acquisition and conversion. I
Right.
love that word. That is my happy place.
Right.
I used to do direct mail. Seriously, like literally direct mail. My dad was a printer. That's my happy place. I love
Right.
ROI.
Does it work or doesn't? Let's figure it
And that's
out.
okay. If it doesn't work, you know what not to do. You move on. I've never gotten fired when a campaign didn't work. And again, I've had my share of epic fails. It does happen. You can't be scared of that.
Right.
Not everything has to work. You just have to add to your learning.
Thought log.
But back to the question, it's an interesting question because the one piece of advice that I really strongly encourage people not to fall into the trap of a channel analytics approach. Here's what usually happens. Here's campaign X, right? You use 6 channels and you slice and dice it to say PPC didn't work. This did work. That's where I think people go awry. Because I don't believe in a channel-based ROI. It becomes more obvious over time if something is just like dragging it down, but there's no value. If you take a topic and you play it out against all your channels, just keep it simple. Engage Simply, what is the name of the services side of our company. Just keep it simple. If you have a campaign against a topic, just see how the campaign did, see how the topic did.
Mm.
Then you could dive in deeper and say, oh, did this channel really suck wind? And sometimes there are obvious dogs. It's obvious. But most of the time, it's just a matter of tweaking. The elements are right. It's just the proportions are wrong. But most CEOs say, well, how did PPC do? Who the Paris, excuse my language. I might not allowed to say that on this.
No, you can.
But that's where the chase for channel ROI really went awry, because the programmatic folks wanted to say, hey, look how cheap we could get impressions that have a whatever engagement rate. Wrong question, wrong answer. The answer is, we did a campaign against this topic. I don't have to know who. I just have to know how the topic performed. That's very achievable. Most brands could do that.
Okay, so moving on, things change so fast. These are in quotes.
Yeah.
Everything is new. Everything is new all the time now.
Yeah.
Do you have a philosophy, like a steady state philosophy about marketing strategy and digital advertising that doesn't change? Like, do you have a story about how you've seen this playing out, or are you living the story, or speak to this?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, because that is probably where I've spent probably 15 years of thinking and planning and doing. The ultimate unifying theory, in my opinion, of where the internet goes and where digital marketing goes, because that's really the killer application of the internet, is what I call the trust web. The trust web is not, we are building the trust web. It means a piece for consumers, a piece for publishers, and a piece for advertisers. But as we rush to technology, trust is that thread that binds us all. We're seeing when there isn't trust in today's horrific social and political culture, because nobody knows what to trust, because we've taken all those tools away from them. But, if you're a consumer, how do you know what content to trust? Maybe Fox is right. How do I know? How do you know? How does any of us know? So all the tools we had in the analog world don't exist in the digital world. So our technology play there is around creating trust tools. So that trust is an infrastructure layer to how the internet works.
Love that.
An infrastructure layer to how, let's say, content is developed, right? I see two pieces of content. How do I know which one to trust? Creating trust signals, creating ways for the end user to trust. That doesn't exist. And it's not a one company play. We're partnering with other companies. We're actually partnering with the government to try and create this trust layer. In the rush to digitize, that was left because it's just too hard. It's very difficult, and it is difficult. So that's what Web.3, which I find ironic that it's a software naming, convention. But Web3 is about the creator, distributed networking, taking out the intermediaries. So the principles of Web3, I'm very much aligned with. Forget what it's called, but the principles are giving control back to what we call the edge. So the edge of the network is that consumer. And the consumer today is powerless. If I go to site number 1, I have to play by their rules. I go to site number 2, I have to play by their rules. I have zero input as to what happens to me in those journeys. That's absurd. That's absurd. It just shouldn't be that way. We accept it, but we shouldn't. At least I don't.
Well, but Judy, you bring up such a really interesting point, is because the marketing hat. If you take it off, you're the consumer all of a sudden. Yeah. Look at you, Joe and Jane consumer. I think we totally forget that, because you're saying, well, what do you mean? You just have to accept the cookies, Judy, and then you're in our funnel, Jake.
Exactly.
And
you opted in, so all good. Nobody can come get me. I actually started to do an audit of how complicated the opt-in out thing was.
Sure.
I gave up because I counted 40 different flavors, and then I just gave up. So it's insane.
Oh, when I had to leave Facebook, it took like half a day. They were like, "Are you sure?" They were like, "Can you just like give us an email where we can contact you to like keep this going?" It was so crazy. It was such an elaborate process, and that was one platform, and what are the other platforms that you're on? But it's interesting because, is there an exchange here? Do you see trust as this barometer? If me and this platform don't have it, if we don't share it, then it's not aligned. And is that maybe a good mechanism for us marketers and prosumers who are headed to this Web3. Is that how we should be thinking about this stuff? Or should we still be sort of like, give up some data because it's good, kind of feed the beast kind of thing? I don't know.
I think there's a better equilibrium of the value exchange.
Hmm. Hmm.
Nobody expects something completely for nothing, but nobody expected to be exploited. Try and picture this for a minute. Let's play out like a scenario just so you can kind of grasp it in your mind. Your brand X, right?
Mm-hmm.
You sell trips to Hawaii, right? You sell trips to Hawaii. That's your business.
People love that.
Right. And you want to reach people who want a trip to Hawaii. Now, again, I've now convinced you I'm your service agency over here. Don't worry about upper funnel. Let's just focus on where people are ready. I have a trip to Hawaii. How do you reach them? So imagine in this ecosystem, the consumer has an intelligent agent. Let's just call it a chatbot, for lack of a better word, but it's your chatbot. You've trained it. You've given it a sense of what you like, and you say, hey, give me a good, list top 10 deals for Hawaii, right?
Mm.
In that moment, I ask you as your chatbot agent, hey, here are 4 companies that have deals to Hawaii. Do you want them to send you a promotional offer?
Mm-hmm.
And you choose yes or no. To you, the company, every one of those is high value. They've said, yes, I'm going to Hawaii, and yes, I want to hear from you. So is that worth $100? You bet it is, versus trying to churn out media till you die, hoping you got like 1/10 of 1%. So now the consumer said, yes, I really do, want information about Hawaii from these vendors. And that's the exchange value shift. I don't think that's a complete change, but it's a shift. It's putting both people at the table, not just one, and then hopefully they don't get harmed in the process. That's a mind shift.
And it's an interesting thing, speaking from a content marketing perspective, because you said something interesting, was that contextual relevance is more important than content exhaustion. And if here I am trying to create a bunch of content that people are going to get their learn on with,
yep.
when they're all hot and bothered to want to buy my SaaS widget, right. The truth is, the better way might be to target their contextual relevancy.
No, you've got it exactly right, which is why the scale equation is irrelevant. I'm not going to get 10 million people raising their hand saying, I want to go to Hawaii, right? But you can't make more. So if imagine as an advertiser, as a bidding system, right? So if 10,000 people raise their hands, now the advertiser can say, yes, I really want to. No, not so much. Don't need to. And that way the market can, shall we say, drive where the real value is. You can't make more people raising their hands. You can always create a new impression. So impressions are endless, which is why their value has gone down, right? It's a total mind bend. And the only reason I'm doing it is because that's what I lived with I lived that world. Most of my peers that are founding companies never lived it. So they didn't know how well it could work.
I wish we could have battened down the hatches before you started, because the wind just blew in here, and I'm like, wow, my mind's being blown.
But that's exactly what happens when clients get it. And it sometimes takes them a while to fully grok it, right? But when they get it, it changes how they see everything.
You have been brilliant, but I want to ask you to maybe kind of condense all of this down for us. If you had one piece of advice to lay on the audience about all the stuff we covered today, what would that be?
Create content that ensures you're a welcome part of an audience's world. Don't create content just to overwhelm. Create content intelligently, again, in my opinion, through data, that people will welcome. That is a big ask. That is not easy to do. But at the end of the day, that's the only thing that works. If you're just a content machine just to keep pushing out content, it will not serve you well. It really will do nothing for you. If you create content that is well conceived, that is targeted because of the data, this is the topic, and it's well executed, that's where I'm a big believer in great execution. Big believer if you give them the right data. So spend the time, spend the money. Don't expect it to be done in a digital moment. That's just not the way it works. You're marketing to real people. You're not marketing to other machines. And that somehow got lost.
Wow. I mean, I'm singing Kumbaya by your bonfire, Judy. And I know other people want to join me in chorus. How can people learn more about you and find you online?
So we are actually relaunching in about a month. So that's exciting.
So by the time this maybe airs, you will have relaunched.
So right now, Engage Simply, Topic Intelligence, TrustWeb will come together under one banner, because TrustWeb is the infrastructure, Topic Intelligence is the data tech, and Engage Simply is the services. So again, we wanted to be holistic, we wanted to be complete, we wanted to be reasonable in how clients can work with us. We are also looking for partners who are doing important things in the area of transparency, in the area of data ethics. I'm a big data ethics kind of girl, which is why I didn't even try and touch the whole cookie thing. I'm like, I don't know how to do it well. I ain't touching it. And thank you so much. You're a real honorable voice on the internet. Sometimes it's hard to hear the crap that comes out of so many people's mouths. That is just like, what the hell? So you're such a fresh breath on the normal landscapes. Every time I see your posts, I have to tell you, about 20% of the time, I don't think I get it, because I don't get sarcasm on Twitter. I just don't get it. I'm a girl, so we don't get sarcasm as easily anyway.
Well, I'll bat that right back at you. I mean, if you're looking for someone to follow who says what they mean, and is highly clear, just clear thinking on really deep topics, Judy's a great follow on Twitter.
Thank you. And this has been fun. Happy to chat.
Oh yes. Okay, happy to chat. So, and then what's the web address? Is it still Topic Intelligence?
Actually, I'd love for people to go to the TrustWeb Times. That's really where we share a lot of information. Again, for them to get this whole topic thing, they have to really begin to learn. So trustwebtimes.com is where we actually like people to go. Cool. So you could read why cookies are a problem, or you could read why ABM solutions aren't what they cracked up to be. So it's really kind of picking apart what I see are the gaps in the ad tech world.
Cheese or chocolate?
Cheese or chocolate? You have to choose one.
Not even a question. Chocolate.
Okay, fine. Giraffes or geruns? Or do you mind my asking you?
Giraffes.
Has to be giraffes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. One to many or one to one?
Oh, 1-to-1. Heart to heart.
Oh. Woodstock the cartoon bird or Woodstock the concert?
Again, look at me. The concert.
Okay, Nat King Cole or Old King Cole?
Ooh, now here's a tricky one. Old King Cole.
He had pie, I think. And fiddlers.
He was an enigma. I like that. He was an enigma.
What a card. Okay, and finally, context or content?
Oh, that's like asking me to choose between two children. Seriously. Context.
What Gets Measured is a NinjaCat podcast. Please rate and review the show wherever you find your podcasts. Share this episode on social, and visit us on the web at ninjacat.io.